Non-specific functions. Okay, when you land on the Market Center landing page, what you're going to see after you open your Analyzer tool are these three icons here. We have a Create New Report icon. That's going to create an empty report with absolutely no data pulled into it, so that's really recommended for the more advanced users of this tool. You also have this Video Tutorials button over here on the right. That contains, of course, the videos that you're going through right now that explain different functions, various parts of these pre-made reports that you can use. Finally, there's the Open My Reports tab. That, of course, contains the different folder classifications for keeping your report either in your own company's folder, so basically any copy you make can be seen by your entire company, or your own personal folder where the copy you make there can only be seen by you. We also dupe a copy of the original master query sitting in this master report. Just in case you happen to save over your original, you can go back and use this master report folder to get the original pre-baked query in its original state. Okay, hopping back into the actual pre-baked query here, I'm going to talk a bit about a few of the different non-specific functions that exist inside of this report. Number one is the detach button. Whenever you open a new report, you're going to want to hit the detach button that appears in the upper right. So you can see here the reverse of that is showing right now. The dock button would send it back into the screen, but I highly suggest you always use the detach button that shows up in the upper right corner of your report. That way you can work in a full screen and not have to work down in that small screen that it launches in the original browser. Okay, following up with that, we also have a refresh button. If you ever look at a chart and let's say that it didn't expand across the screen correctly, go ahead and use this refresh button. All it does is it goes in, rebuilds the graph, and restretches it so that it looks correct inside of your report. The export button is for users who have manipulated the report to look the way they would like it to show up in Excel. So you can use this export button. It'll send not only the table and the associated data that you were looking at, it'll also send a static image of the screens that you had built. So for example, if I hit export on this particular tab, what this is doing is it's going in and compiling every single one of these tabs into an Excel workbook for me. And then I get the option here, once it's done compiling this, to open it up in Excel, like this. Okay. Here's my report. You can see that the tabs along the bottom of this report match my original. You can see the table there with the filter criteria. And you can see the static image of what I was looking at. So you could take that, drop it in an email or a PowerPoint, something like that, if you wanted to. Okay, hopping back to the report. The Save As button gives you the option to take the modified report you made and save it in your private folder, or if you'd like someone else in your institution to be able to access it, you can use the corporate folder. One thing to note here, if you do use a name that you've already used in one of those folders, you're going to overwrite your previous report. So if you don't want to do that, always use new names. Okay, the icons. These objects that exist inside of this report are very familiar to any Windows user. And by that what I mean is every single object, you can grab them, you can move them around. You can actually make a copy of any object you would like to make a copy of by holding down the Control key. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm holding down Control, grabbing the title bar, and dragging it to a new location. So in that way you can quickly make a copy of an object that you were looking at. Up in the upper right, you can see some standard options as far as what Windows users are used to seeing. The first button here is the detail settings. If you click that, you're going to get some options that relate to the object you clicked detail settings on. So for example, I could change the name here of this object. And there are several other choices in here as well that you can manipulate to change the nature of that object. Okay, you also have a delete button over on the right, so as long as you have a copy of that object somewhere else, it's fine for you to go in and delete objects you decide that you don't need anymore. So that's this X button. In the middle here is a freeze button. If you want these filters to stop manipulating the chart, so you want to kind of freeze it the way that it is, you can use that that little lock icon that's going to freeze your object, and it's going to keep those filters from manipulating the object. There's the refresh button right there. That's just going to do similar to what this refresh button up in the top does. It's just going to recycle it, make sure it's all displaying correctly. And then you also have minimize, maximize. So I can hit maximize here, make this object full screen, or you can go back up to the top if you're looking at a maximized object and use this restore, which is going to bring it back down to its original size.